Hello everybody, I'm Lydia Ruth. Welcome to the Manse and to this broadcast, Homemaking Radio. I hope that you're all doing the best you can in your current circumstances, but that you have great plans for improvement. I have quite a few things to talk to you about today, and I think I will begin with poetry, because poetry helps the mind and body to focus, I believe. Also takes away the uneasiness because it has a little rhythm to it. That's why we like some favorite music. For instance, it tends to temper us and make us more even-keeled. And so I want to read some poems from the Edgar A. Guest book. I want to remind you that one of the skills that people need to learn is how to repair an old-fashioned book, that has the hardcover, how to repair it. You used to be able to go to a bookbinder's and get them to redo your book, and people made quite a living at it too, but now not so because of so many of the soft covers. But the home sewer, the home seamstresses, learned to make covers for books out of cloth so that they could cover and protect the outer side of the binding. But what happens when the end comes undone? Well, these are things we all need to learn. And if you're a girl at home, don't ever think that you, quote, already know how to manage the home, because you don't. There are so many things that are going to come up. And I say to everybody, we need to be prepared for hard times. Many people quit having the hope chest for women because then it became fashionable to bring gifts to the bride and groom, store-bought gifts, and some handmade. So she didn't save up or plan anything. But I have noticed that the young ladies that were busy with hope chests eventually did get married and ended up in very good circumstances and very good situations. I'm going to start with some poetry and philosophize a little bit about it. But first, if you're new here, or even if you're old, please click the link in this description box that I have put on the channel and go to, which will take you to the blog and the page where I have embedded this, because sometimes I put reference links or pictures around the manse or around the property here, and maybe I'll embed some music or a song or something like that. You get completely away from the distraction of the channel and get over to my blog, or you can go to my channel and just watch it there. But ladies, I want to thank you for all your encouragement to keep going, and so I want to speak to the very young at home, the young ladies that are learning at their mother's elbow at home, and I want to speak to the genuine homemakers that have tremendous job to do and have people around them all the time. Your work is really cut out for you. But I also want to speak to the woman whose children and husband maybe have gone, and show that she too will have purpose. One of the favorite verses of the homeschoolers of the 1980s was from, I believe it was maybe Ezekiel, where God said, "I know the plans I have for you, plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." But we always used it for the young people, but it's also for the vital people too. God has a future and a hope for you too. And as long as we are living, there's hope, right? So I want to start my little thing here with poetry, because maybe it'll make me feel less scatterbrained. I have read this to you before, so I may analyze it a little better this time, okay? So it's called Courage by Edgar A. Guest. This is courage, to remain brave and patient under pain, cool and calm and firm to stay in the presence of dismay, not to flinch when foes attack, even though you're beaten back, still to cling to what is right when the wrong possesses might. This is courage, to be true to the best men see in you, to remember tempest tossed, not to whimper all is lost, but to battle to the end while you still have strength to spend, not to cry that hope is gone while you've life to carry on. This is courage, to endure hurt and loss you cannot cure. Patiently and undismayed, facing life still unafraid, glad to live and glad to take bravely for your children's sake, burdens that would have to bear if you would flee and cease to care. Now that is such a beautiful poem, worth analyzing. If I had you in my little therapy group, we would discuss this poem at great length. I'll just start here. Courage to remain brave and patient under pain. We were not taught that in youth. The public schools didn't teach us courage. We never very rarely read things about courage. It was mostly about following the rules, trying to, get through the grade and trying to get out of there with a good reputation and follow their routine. And it didn't prepare us for the ups and downs of life. This is courage, to remain brave and patient under pain. I have told you before about nose breathing. That also helps breathe away discomfort and pain, is nose breathing. And if you've ever woken in the middle of the night with a pain in your leg, maybe what they call leg cramps, Charlie horses, some of them, when we were young we used to have them, but when you're older it seems like the pain is worse. To be able to remain calm and firm to stay in the presence of dismay. Very difficult. But if you do cry out, you don't curse, and you don't condemn, and you don't make other people feel bad. This is the thing. When under pain, you may cry out in pain, but you may not blame. Not to flinch when foes attack, even when you're beaten back. Still to cling to what is right when the wrong possesses might. And you'll be ridiculed. You'll be ridiculed a lot as a homemaker, and young girls at home, you're going to be ridiculed, especially if you decide you want to go out and go get a job or something. They're going to intimidate you because you're not worldly and you don't know all the worldly things and all the worldly terms. And remember, in Sense and Sensibility, one of the characters said they felt sorry for Mary Ann. She had had a real hope for Willoughby, and Willoughby had betrayed her. And she went home and cried herself to death nearly. And someone said, I feel sorry for Mary Ann. She will lose her bloom. If you get bitter and you get to where you don't want to cling to what is right because the wrong is pressing on you and you want to cave, you lose your youthfulness. You lose your bloom, they say. And it's like in some of the old classes we used to attend, for young girls in churches. We'd have somebody would host a class at her house, and she'd pass around a rose that wasn't fully open yet, and she'd pass it around and let everybody touch it and smell it and feel it, and then she would show how the rose was not as nice. It was a bit damaged. And I just really like this poem because it says, cling to what is right when the wrong possesses might. And when you get bitter and used by the world, you will lose your bloom, and it's harder to stand up for what is right. This is courage, to be true to the best that men see in you, to remember tempest tossed, not to whimper all is lost, but to battle to the end while you still have strength to spend, not to cry that hope is gone while you've life to carry on. This is courage, to endure hurt and loss you cannot cure. There's a lot of things going on right now in the world that we can do nothing about. And so I think we should all take a wait and see break, see what happens with the world, and see if any worry about it ever helped you get your laundry done. Make a list of things that you need to improve in yourself, and make a list of things you need to improve at home, things you need to do. And you'll find that the cares of the world do not help. So it's best to focus on what is at home. Patiently and undismayed, facing life still unafraid, glad to live and glad to take bravely for your children's sake burdens they would have to bear if you fled and ceased to care. Running away only puts the hurt and the pain on other people. And there was a poem here that I also wanted to read to you about. See if I can find it now. It was about time. I hope I can find it. It was called Checking the Day. Now these are poems of life and of reality, and I just love them because they teach such good things that really are in line with scriptural teachings. So this one is called Checking the Day. Now it's like I say, I once was talking about word currency, how I wanted to have a certain amount of words to use during the day so that I would be careful to be quiet and not explain every little thing to every person, not to be overly nervous or overly sympathetic so that I had to make everybody else feel good or at ease, but to watch my words so that I didn't use up my word bank, and so that I could save my voice for things like this, for coming here. So here it is, called Checking the Day by Edgar Guest. I had a full day in my purse when I arose, and now it's gone. I wonder if I can rehearse the squandered hours one by one, and count the minutes as I do the pennies and the dimes I've spent. So count the minutes as you would the pennies and the dimes you spent. I've had a day once bright and new, but oh, for what few things it went. There were 12 hours when I began, good hours worth 60 minutes each, yet some of them so swiftly ran I had no time for thought or speech. Breathe through your nose and think again, start thinking again, get your brain back. 8 of them to my task I gave, glad that it did not ask for more. Part of the day I tried to save, but now I cannot say what for. An hour I spent for idle chat, gossip and scandal, I confess. No better off am I for that, would I had talked a little less. I watched steel workers bolt a beam. What time that cost I don't recall. How very short the minutes seem when they are spent on trifles small. Quite empty is my purse tonight, talking about my time purse, which held at dawn a 12-hour day, for all of it has taken flight, part wisely spent, part thrown away. I did my task and earned its gain, but checking deeds with what they cost, 2 missing hours I can't explain, they must be charged away as lost. And that reminds me of it says part-time wisely spent, part-time throw away. I did my task and earned its gain, but checking deeds with what they cost, 2 missing hours I can't explain. And I heard one of these exercise people say, if you can capture the morning, then you can own the rest of the day. If you can somehow get control of your morning, you can own the rest of the day. That is true. I'm still trying to achieve that. Okay, so I'm going to have a how to be cheerful, and then I'm going to read something called care. I think I have read some of these to you before, but if you're new here, you will appreciate hearing it again. How to be cheerful by Edgar Guest. How to be cheerful, do you say, when the wind is cold and the skies are gray? How to be cheerful just one way, forget yourself a little while today. Never mind self and your irksome cares, somebody else greater burden bears. Stretch out a helping hand and play the friend to all who may chance your way. You'll never be cheerful sitting there sorrowing over the hurts you bear, for never a joyous hour is known by the man who thinks of self alone. How to be cheerful, scatter cheer, share your life with your neighbors here. Encourage the weary and comfort the sad, and you'll be more joyful than you ever have. Okay, this is called Awakening. I want to read this to every young person and maybe old person. You might identify with it. It's called Awakening. Oh, I wanted to be pampered and I wanted to be petted. I thought that life should run to me with comfort when I fretted. And so I used to wail for joys I had no means of buying. But life went on about its work and never heard me crying. I used to fly in tantrums when some pleasure was denied me. I fancied everyone was wrong who raised a voice to chide me. I thought that life should run to me with pretty things to show me. But life went on about its work and never seemed to know me. I know not how the thought began, nor why so long it lasted. I wanted cake and pie to eat while others bravely fasted. I wanted easy tasks to do, high pay without the labor. But life I noticed passed me by to visit with my neighbor. Then suddenly I faced about, stopped my senseless whining, took disappointment with a grin, and loss without repining. I found that woes were everywhere, and some would surely strike me. I strapped my burdens on my back, and life began to like me. I just thought that was an interesting poem because I guess everybody goes through a phase where they think that they are so special, they are the center of the universe, and surely our mothers and fathers thought we were. And that's one good reason to stay close to home, because you girls get out at a job in the world, they're not going to think you're so special after all. They may play around with that for a while and flatter you and tell you how great you are, but they're just as quickly, when they're through with you, they will drop you. I have quite a few more that I can read. Maybe we'll save that for next time. Now I want to show you a couple of little things that you can do. And those of you who think you just know everything, I want to teach you what you need to do with your hope chest. Is you have to put things in there besides just dish towels and pots and pans. You want to put some things in there that you can use to teach others with and as patterns. Now, one of the things that I have done, I've got this ball of yarn from the Dollar Tree, and I have a hole punch, got that there too, and some tape and some scissors, each of them from the Dollar Tree. That's all you need for equipment. I don't have a scissors right here, but I took this canvas paper. You can also get that there, or just art paper there, or hard. What you need is cardstock. If you can't find anything hard, get file folders, and you can make this. This is a sewing card that I'm going to make out of this canvas paper because it's hard. And so you take your little hole puncher. You draw something like I've drawn an apple here. And you take your hole puncher and you punch it in as far towards the middle as you can so they won't break. And then you take your yarn and you wrap this tape around the end of it to make it like a needle. And it's very safe, and your child can learn to sew this sewing card by pushing this little piece of plastic end through one of the holes like this. And then on the other, and this is how to make a straight stitch on this side. And then this is how, on this side, you would make a, what would you call that? That's an overhand stitch. This would be a running stitch. This would be an overhand stitch. And then when they get a little more imaginative, they can lace this card back and forth and fill it out back and forth and up and down with this yarn you make for them. You need to have samples of this, or different kinds of objects for kids to sew. And it would teach you too if you can't sew. Another thing that I did was that I could use the same things was the yarn and the canvas paper or cardstock paper or something like that, is make a little book. And I wanted to show you how to make a little book because this is something you might do when you're a child or be taught when you're a child, but it's something that when you enter into your vital years, you'll find it the most relaxing thing for your brain, and the best thing for rejuvenation is to do some of these simple things. And you can teach the girls in your family to do it because everybody needs a little notebook. And this could be even a little devotional book or something, just a book to have. And what I've done is I bought a package of this ephemera at the Hobby Lobby, and I picked things out to put in it. And you don't have to do that. You can actually draw your own things or cut them out of other materials and put them in, even fabric. And I just called it Good Things. And you need to know how to make a little book. They're quite nice. Children and other people alike love it. So here's what I put in here. I put berries, and I put jam on there, and I put a cake right there, and I put, that looks like a cup of cappuccino, or maybe it's hot chocolate, and then I put a key and a lock on the other side. And this is, I think, very good for those who are trying to slow down their minds and get ready for the evening and just slow down and get rid of the tension. Is so good for you. And I have suggested making the page, and also I used the hole punch to make the holes in the book so that I could tie it together. And I have suggested making separate pages so that you have a whole bundle of them by the end of a week, where you just put one thing in it, or one pretty thing in it, because very good for your brain, very good for your mind. I mean, when you look at something like that, how does that make you feel? And we're also supposed to be thinking about things that are lovely. So I wanted to show you that, and I will try to remember to put a picture on it on the blog for you to see that. Now, one of the reasons that I'm doing this today is about books for the home. You don't have to have all these books. You need to have a notebook where you write down your thoughts of things that you like to remember that will be great for teaching for the home, for your girls or boys. Great teaching for the home, to start writing down your own thoughts and your own observations and your own practices. And it's nice to have these books, but often we only get a little hint here and there that will apply to us. But I want to read you something from the scriptures, one of my favorite. And one of the reasons that we do this as Vital Women is we want our children to walk in truth. That's our greatest desire. I mean, you could offer me anything, but if it meant that my children would forget the truth, I wouldn't trade it. And my effort now is to make sure that the future generations, there's this in America, there's this Native American custom amongst the villages of Native Americans, that no decision will be made until it has been investigated as to how it will affect the 7th generation. So my goal is to affect as many future generations as I possibly can in my own family. And I don't know, but wouldn't you have liked to look back at your great-grandmother or your Victorian grandmother, had some kind of record or diary of her life as to what was important to her, what was her spiritual life, what were her struggles, what did she do at home? Wouldn't that have been nice? Well, you can do that for the future generations. And you can write letters, you can send out little newsletters, you can do many different things, and sometime I'll show you some of the newsletters that I send out to my children and grandchildren with things in them. And so, because I like to participate. And so here's the verse. For I rejoiced greatly when the brothers came and testified to your truth, as indeed you are walking in the truth. That was cause of great rejoicing in 3 John verse 3. And it is just the greatest concern. And when they do something that is reflects this truth, it's so satisfying. It's so glorious. It just covers all kinds of things that maybe you didn't get in your life. And So I want to go on and tell you again, since I'm doing books today, kids, wanted to tell you also to start your own, do a sample hope chest for yourself if you're of vital years and you didn't have one, or your children didn't have one. Do a sample hope chest. Just get a small little box with a lid on it and put some things in it as samples of what you would take as a hope chest. Now, it was real interesting because my mother had one, and she let us look at it sometimes, and it was full of fancy things that you couldn't use in this harsh wilderness life. But what they did for me as a child was show me the relief of refinement. It made you feel good. It made you feel elevated, a sense of dignity, because she had refining things in there. She had embroidered cloths. She had teacups. She had other things that she brought from home, and I would have not understood why that stuff was there because she didn't use it. She didn't take it out. But once in a while, she would open the trunk and get it out and look at it. It was like turning on a program just to look at it. And she said, "I'm going to open the trunk today." So we'd all run up and look at what there was. They were treasures, and they would not have survived harsh use in the pioneer type life that we grew up in. But they were so precious to all of us to show us a more refined side of life, and it was just, I cannot even explain what it was like. Maybe some of you could. But since I'm talking about books today, books for the home, you don't have to buy all these books, but I'm just going to share some of the things I have liked. I told you about the newest Victoria magazine. It features the Anne of Green Gables, and the recipes from the story, and there was one page here, Raspberry Social, and it was let me see what it was called here in the index. It says, we present, turning to the popular series Anne of Green Gables, we present a delectable collection of raspberry recipes certain to tempt Anne Shirley. Yes, so this is the page on which that is on, and I mean to tell Victoria Magazine how proud I am that they published this issue and what it meant to me, because my mother was Canadian and loved Anne of Green Gables, and whenever we got sick, she would go send my dad to the library to bring home every edition of the Anne of Green Gables series so that she could read them aloud to us while we were sick. And they were so helpful and so precious. But this is a great one. You know, it's clean, and I liked it because the costumes were decent, and it's like when Emma got home from a party and she was asked, well, how was the party? And she said, everybody punctual, everybody dressed in their best looks. And this was what it was, everybody dressed in their best looks. And now, somebody asked me about home cleaning things, cleaning products that you could make yourself. Well, I have two issues. Now, these are expensive, but sometimes you can go on the web and get a used copy. It's by a company, I forget, let me see what this company is called. Stampington.com or Willow and Sage. It's called Willow and Sage. And you don't need to get one every time they have an issue, but one is pretty expensive. It looks like it was about, on the stand, was about $15. But, you know, you can always order it from somebody else that has finished with it online and is selling it at a big discount. And this one is called Simple Home Solutions. And it will show you how to make a stain remover alternative, a window spray, oil-infused dusting cloths, and an all-purpose cleaner, deodorizing room spray, and more with natural products, no chemicals, and no petroleum, I guess you would say, or plastics or anything like that. And then there's another, and I'll just show you some of it here, is how to make a natural beet dye, make a dye out of beets, and how to just see how to clean and reuse containers, laundry detergent without all the caustic materials in it. And then the other, this is called the home issue, and then this one is called willow and sage, and it's the personal body issue, and it's lavender and eucalyptus bath salts, 31 practical pampering projects, flowered tinted lip balm, so you can make your own cosmetics, self-care treat, minty lemon foot scrub, floral bath, steam, detox bath, and more. And these are expensive, but you get one or two, you get one of each, and you keep it in your book collection in your library. These are not to be tossed out or torn out and thrown in the fire. I gave up giving people copies of this. When I'd get excited about one of these issues, I'd buy another copy, and I'd decide I was going to give it to somebody, and would ask later, you know, how did you like that issue? Oh yeah, we read it, and then we just threw it away, or something like that. So I don't, I'll tell you about it. People, if they'll spend their own money, will value it more than if you just start giving things to people. That's just my observation. May not always be true. So the Hope Chest is for children and adults. You can have your own, and maybe put some of the things that you hope for in it. So to get a book, and you can also put books in your Hope Chest. Now there are a couple of things you need to know how to do, and I wish that some magazine would come out with these. And in life, if you're young and you're at home and you don't have your own home yet, but you're still with your parents, you need to know how to send a care package, how to package things so that they don't break or spill or anything inside the package. You need to know how to really pad a package, and you need to know how to make a sick tray. What we used to do, a sick tray is something like this box, and like for a child, and you would cut the ends off. You'd cut these two ends off so that it would fit over a person's lap while they were in bed, and then you could, or you could just use it like this too, but we'd cover it with something pretty. We would either put cloth with homemade paste inside. We would paste the cloth with homemade paste, or Mod Podge, or cornstarch, or something like that, or we would put sticky paper on it or something like that, and you could make a tray with comforting things for a child, maybe something to draw on, and maybe something to eat on it to help them keep their spirits up when they're sick. We have a little day in bed there. Okay, so I'm going to move along here and tell you some more books that you might like to have. And one is, I've encouraged you to get the Emily Barnes books, because she was so practical, and also she knew a lot about the home and femininity, and I wanted to read part of this one. It's called The Spirit of Loveliness, probably one of my favorites. And at the end of every chapter, she'd put these little dots and have little hints, and one of them was, and it was called The Spirit of Femininity. So she's talking about, and femininity, the word actually is in the Bible, and I'll show you sometimes where I found it. It's the opposite of maleness or masculinity. In today's world, she says, it is still women's business to make life better, to make tomorrow better than today. You don't worry about the results. You don't get bitter and say, well, I tried to make life better and somebody just came in and messed it all up. You do it for yourself. You do it for your own stability in your brain, and for your responsibility. We're responsible for the home. So the spirit of femininity, and she had, just wanted to read some of these hints that she had in here. She said, if you're at home, consider your everyday look. Is it casual or just sloppy? Why not get up 10 minutes early to fix yourself up for the people you love the most? That is so phenomenal. And then she suggests taking your family for a census walk. That would mean smell the flowers, the orange blossoms, and the fragrances, and gently see, we can often suck the honey out of some of these flowers like nasturtiums. And then close your eyes and listen for the different sounds of the birds, the train, the airplane, the saw, the hammer, water, etc. And I do that as much as I can. Take everybody for a census walk. Okay, then another book that's really important, and this for young and old alike, is called Stepping Heavenward. Now you can order this from Lamplighter. Get yourself a Lamplighter catalog. You can usually get those for free. I don't know if overseas you could get them for free. You might want to include a little money just to pay for postage for the catalog. The catalog explains the stories. And this one I found was very good for young girls at home. It's called Stepping Heavenward, and it's written in diary form. Now, whether it's actually the diary or just lessons written in diary form, I don't know. But it's about a girl who really thinks she knows it all, and she just wants to go away from home and help other people. And eventually she finds out that she has to come home. She gets very sick. You get out and you start helping people, you're going to catch something. And she gets very sick, and she starts to notice people that she might have overlooked before. And she starts to become a little more aware of herself and her own faults. And so every entry here is her recording what happened during the day and how it led her to notice people that were actually in their humbleness more important to life than other people. And she talks about people she helped, and coming home, and making and then in this book she also meets the man that she marries, and it talks about her first few years at home, and very good hints in here too about what to do with when you leave home. And then I have this other book that I read to you last time. I don't have the cover on it, but it's 505 quick tips to make your home sensational. And I marked a couple here for you. And there's a chapter. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters. If you had 5 girls or 4 girls and the mother, you could each take a chapter and work on your home with this. One girl could take how to make your home feel sensational, and that is the senses of touch, the textures, and things that give you a feeling of peace or brightness or whatever you're trying to achieve. And then there's another chapter on how to make your home look sensational. So each girl could read a chapter, and then that could be her thing for a while. And then they could trade off maybe the next month, and each one would have a duty. Ladies that have young women at home should have gorgeous homes, because they could each learn to do something. The next one would be making your home smell sensational, and it has all kinds of creative ideas, such as bringing in cedar or bringing in something that has a nice fragrance like lavender, and how to set it out in bowls or on a windowsill or something like that. Then one of the girls could do the how to make your home sound sensational, and there's lots of things that talk about soft sound and even singing and other things in here. And the other one was how to make your home taste sensational. I would think they would all vie for that one because it's food preparation. And but if you had daughters, you could all take turns doing the chapter on the subject of the home. Now for boys, I don't want to leave the boys out. Lamplighter had this book called Pride and Its Prisoners, And it's written in allegory form, kind of like Pilgrim's Progress, you know, where there was the celestial city and he was aiming for that, but he kept getting distracted by these roads here and there and everything. But Pride and Its Prisoners, now it says it was written in 1869, so sometimes the writing and the language is a little bit difficult to get through. But I'll just tell you, there's a little summary in here, and here's what it does. Using the metaphorical imagery, and you need to teach your children and find out yourself, do a search on what metaphorical means. It's a comparison. Using the metaphorical imagery of a near catastrophe in an unfettered hot air balloon, a lady of England unapologetically illustrates our natural inclination to yield to the temptations of our enemy, pride. As in real life, not a single character passes the litmus test, as a series of wrong and sometimes devastating choices culminate in a chilling and terrifying episode. But all is not lost, as the prisoners of pride are loosed from bondage and relationships are restored. Written during the Victorian era, its codes of etiquette and societal rules are evident, but the truth remains that whether male or female, rich or poor, we can all benefit from a good dose of humility. So, and it has nice, what you call line block illustrations. I forget what we used to call those. And I love the way the chapters begin with these decorated letters. And we should all learn to do that in our diaries and in our little books, you know, our own books. Learn how to do that. And there's just sketches of things of the olden times. I just love it. And I also like the feel of a nice book. There's something so elevating and dignifying with these lamplighter books. They're well bound. They have a feeling to them that, like if I were going to a school and I had one of these books, I would feel so special. They elevate the human spirit. They have, you know, it's different than a newspaper. There's a different feeling to it. And also, you need to learn how to break these books in without breaking them. And the way we did it was you'd open the flap on one side like this, and you'd open the flap on the other side. Then you'd take a few pages and press them down like this. Then you take a few more, you press them down like this. Then you go back here and you take a few more and you press them down. And it loosens the book up without breaking it. Now, if you were to take a book like this and suddenly open it, you would hear a crack. So these books are so special, and even the softback books, and even Victoria magazine, I say treat them with respect. A lot of times I'll order an extra copy of one of these from someone who's already read it, and it comes in a perfect condition. I mean, there's not even a thumbprint on it. It comes from people who love books and reading materials. You can tell by the shape that it's in when it comes. Sometimes I get stuff that's not so good, not so nice. Okay, so let's see, I've been here almost 45 minutes, and I wanted to tell you about one other book, maybe some more. And later on, I'll tell you about some of the small books and periodicals that I used to get, and some people read them online and print them online. You can print your own, maybe. Okay, so Gooseberry Patch, I think they're still in business, and they write cookbooks, but the only thing I don't like about them is these plastic comb bindings, because once you had them 20 years, these might break. But you can always use my system of making a little plastic point and putting string or rope through it and rebind it. But what I like about these are the fact that, and I think your girls would really like this, they give homemaking and cooking and such an elevation, such a beauty, and a lot of it is in the illustrations at the bottom. There's a little section on breakfast, but the illustrations are, and little household hints at the bottom are absolutely delightful. And if all your girl did was to turn the pages of this and read those things down at the bottom, she'd get a sense of art and beauty for her kitchen. She would get a sense of what makes a lovely kitchen. And then there's the there are all these little hints, and then there's little sayings, like at the bottom of this, under a baked garden omelet recipe. I love the paper. The paper is just like old-fashioned parchment. And I'll put a link where you can get a bunch of these. They must have published hundreds of these under different titles. There's one for autumn, one for summer, one for fall, one for spring. There's one for the different celebrations. There's just all kinds of these. So listen to this. Make your gatherings fit your home. Have a tiny dining area, but a roomy patio or a deck. Plan to invite friends over when you can serve casual meals outdoors. They always tell you how you can easily do this so that you don't have to feel too formal or under pressure. And so I think they're just going to like so much the little hints at the bottom and the drawings. I mean, look at this. And they could even color, they're in black and white, so they could even color them. That'd be this would be a beautiful coloring book for a little girl, and she could save it for later. Save it for, as she could grow into it. Okay, let me see what all I have here. I'll look at my notes, and then I'll probably have to say goodbye. Now, as some people are really young right now, and you've got small children, you want to make sure that the great responsibility you have doesn't absorb your mind so much that you forget how to do your best and how to enjoy your moments in life. And I think that a good idea is to think, I don't want to look back on this time and wish I had done better. Just do your absolute best. Take a little time and think about it, and think about, some of the places you've lived that maybe you wished you had done a little better job there and you'd appreciated it more. And that will guide what you do. Guide your sewing. It will guide your homemaking. It will guide your diary and everything else. And let me see. So, I wish I had more for you today. Maybe I will read one more poem for you, and then we will say goodbye. And so that is the books. I will try to put them all in a picture on the blog so you can see what they are. Okay, there's a little old lady. It's called Heart Courageous by Edgar Guest. There's a little old lady who lives down the way who has never a word of her sorrows to say. She has buried her husband, her children, and friends. Still bravely her gay little garden she tends, and bravely she smiles as if never a care or the anguish of sorrows had silvered her hair. I'm sure she had some meltdowns privately, though. One morning, as downcast I wandered along, because some little plan of my own had gone wrong, she noticed my frown as I came to her gate, and asked me my burden of trouble to state. "Oh, I know how you feel," she replied with a smile, "but don't bear a grudge, for it isn't worth while." I thought of her sorrows, and stood there ashamed to think that my own petty trouble I'd name. She passed me a rosebud to pin to my coat, and I couldn't say thanks for the lump in my throat. She patted my arm, and she said to me there, "Remember, we all have some burdens to bear." Dear brave little lady, thought I as I left, of all who have loved you so swiftly bereft, yet smiling and cheerful and hiding your woe neath a manner so gentle that no man may know, should I be the last of my circle to stay, God grant me such faith as I've seen you display. And we do need to learn the self-control of bearing burdens. We can talk a lot more about this. I love having my older children here now, and we'll talk about, how to bear a burden and how to keep from pulling others down while you toss out all your griefs and sorrows on them. and what Christ is for, and how to lean on God, and how to be able to still have a purpose, a strong purpose in life, even after all things have been taken away from you. My children and I talk a lot about wives and daughters, and how Molly started out with a loss. She started out with no mother, who had died in childbirth, I think, or maybe after she was born. And then she lost her friend, Mrs. Hamley, who she was looking after, who passed away. And then she lost her friend Roger to her stepsister Cynthia, who was highly flighty and flirtatious. And then she was sent away from home to stay with the Hamleys while her father went away and arranged to get married behind her back. What a loss that was for her. She was so upset. She says, so that's why I was sent away, so that all this could be done behind my back. And then it seems she lost her mother's things because the new mama got rid of her furniture in her room that had belonged to her mother because she wanted to redecorate. So she lost all of her mother's things. And I'm trying to think that there's more losses, probably more losses, but you look at her character, it's so interesting, and especially if you can get a hold of the movie series and you can see this girl taking it all in stride. There was one time she cried, once or twice she cried, but she didn't, but she came up from it and she lifted herself back up from it. And there was one prayer in the movie. I often thought that people make a big deal out of Jane Austen, but should have done more with Elizabeth Gaskell and Molly in Wives and Daughters, devotional books, prayer books, all kinds of different kinds of books, recipe books and everything. Should have been more paid attention to this great classic, Wives and Daughters. But at the end, and also she was put in the middle of a scandal that her stepsister had with somebody, and got caught passing a note to someone, and so she lost her reputation. And it was just one thing after another throughout this whole story, but in the end, her patient beauty and devotion and love for her father and for all of her friends, and even for Roger, shone through and was recognized at last. So don't despair, because even if it's not recognized, the efforts that you have put in to your life and to your family, they will be recompensed. You might think, no, it won't happen, but you just wait, because no good deed goes unrewarded in the end. The thing is, what we have to do, ladies, is wait and see. Learn to wait and see what happens, and pray and cry out to God, and be willing to stay in your responsibility. Keep your responsibility. One of those poems I read was so interesting because it said it would be a loss if we ran off just because we had hard times. And it is a loss. And we don't like to think that we're really very important, but God did put us here for a reason. He wants to give us a future and a hope. And we all have a duty and a responsibility to live our best life, to use our talents, develop some skills, and use them to the glory of God. So ladies, I will leave you here. Hope that you'll be creative this week and that you get a lot done, that you got a lot done while you were listening today. I love you, and stay close to Christ. I'll see you next time.